Hello and welcome to Hopeful Consciousness. It is day 14 of my 14-day challenge to help you have a spiritual and awakened moment. So, coming to the end of this interesting little challenge I set myself, or is it the beginning of something completely new? Who knows? So today's topics I really wanted to talk about are fear and love. Almost the two polar opposites of each other. And that, I think, is the key to having your first awakened moment. So for me, it was a kind of fleeting moment. It was it lasted for a brief period of time, but it's one of those things that when you have it more and more, it becomes the new normal, which, what a fantastic place to live in, where you have a feeling of sort of fearlessness. So for myself, there was a lot of things that compounded together. It's all of the things I've talked about before, watching loads of stuff, having the science behind it to prove to my westernized brain, if you will, that all of this amazing stuff is possible with us humans. And then it was just going through a series of weirdly quite almost depressing things in a weird way. After you go and delve into the rabbit's hole of kind of looking behind the topics of all the stuff that was going on through the current events at the minute, I started to come to a conclusion that every single aspect of humanity is in trouble in one way or another. But I actually got quite a hopeful message for it, because the solution wouldn't come out of trying to actively change all of those areas. The solution came from changing myself. And by changing myself, I would express that feeling of kind of love, empathy, and that there's a better way to do things than the way we're doing at the moment. And if just my little example of even doing these little 14-day videos helps one person have some kind of breakthrough, it's all worthwhile. What a fantastic thing to happen. So I do hope these little videos have helped you. For me, the fear aspect of when you hit a point where you just have an almost awakened moment of, I'm experiencing zero fear at all at the slightest level of my consciousness, that I just know the universe has got my back on this one, that I am the universe, and I am an expression of the universe. It's just a kind of really overwhelming feeling, really. And it does just, you could, from that place of kind of total love, you can just beam it out to other people and help other people. So I think that is probably the single biggest challenge in our world today. It's not one particular topic or another. It's purely fear in its many different guises, in its many different forms. It takes all kinds of different forms, but that one little thing is what stops us going after what we really want in life, stops us being as loving as we can. Be that through any kind of the negative emotions that ultimately all come back to fear, jealousy, anger, all of these sort of things. And it's attachment to items, objects, organizations, ideas, beliefs, and things like that is one of the key components to overcoming that kind of fear, I think. By attaching yourself to something, it makes it very hard for you to accept criticism against that thing, whatever it might be. If it's a belief that challenges your core values, and someone starts saying something you completely disagree with, it's very easy just to go into that kind of mode of going off at someone, for example, because they disagree with you. And it can be some outrageously horrible views that you think must absolutely be challenged. But from everything I've found from all these sort of teachings and learning, it is not a good use of your energy to challenge that. It really isn't. By almost ignoring it, not giving it any focus or any attention, because where you focus, your energy flows towards. So by not focusing on it and just focus on being the most loving being you can, if someone else has got some wacky ideas that you disagree with, that's cool. Let them have it, even if it's, you know, really out there, and it really challenges you at a core level. That's fine. Let other people use their intelligence, and they will see that you are an example of this kind of coming from this loving place, and the energy that you'll be giving off will be so different to that other viewpoint of kind of negativity and fear. And at some point, people will register that and realize, you know what, there's a better path. But some people may never reach that in their lifetime, and that's absolutely cool. You know, there are some folks that are so entrenched in the system that, to be honest, us humans have kind of created, that it's really hard to break you out of that. And you will get people that are just stuck in a cycle of fear, and there is absolutely nothing you can honestly do to change it other than be an example. And when they start seeing examples all over the place of people that they may have known, may have been good friends with, you know, suddenly becoming this new state of being, it just takes a small number of people to do that. For some of the others that are not quite aware of things in terms of more of a spiritual nature, perhaps, to just sort of start asking questions. And that is the key. Just get that initial thing of asking a question about whether, you know, my doing something in a fearful response is serving me any better than the kind of loving response that I see this other person giving out, if you know what I mean. So one thing I have watched really recently is a great couple of YouTube videos by a chap called Rob Bell. And it talks about, his talk is called Everything is Spiritual. And I only just literally watched that about a week ago. He's got two videos, one in 2013 and one in 2016. Both very, very good. The first one talks about how there is no unlinking us from being spiritual. We may have tried very hard to do so, but you simply can't undo that fundamental link. And then you've got his second video, which I found absolutely brilliant, was showing how the universe itself is evolving. So the universe, as we know, or we think we know, I should say, or as scientists will tell us, started with the Big Bang. Now, however you might come to that conclusion that it started that way, that's the best thinking that we can kind of figure out at the moment. So taking that aside for a moment, if you can imagine that there's this hot soup of little individual particles all around, again containing everything within the universe in this tiny single point of origin, which is how everything is connected. And then it expands out, and he talks about how this expansion, and he uses a beautiful kind of triangular funnel showing how the universe has sort of expanded outwards, and these particles form together to become atoms. And something special happens when these particles form together to become atoms, is they become greater than the sum of their parts. And then you've got these atoms that then come together to become molecules. And again, the atoms become greater than their individual selves. They become something far more complex. And now we have molecules. Now you start to get the building blocks of things like life. So then you get onto cells. So you've gone from a molecule, and the next level of complexity is kind of like a cell, of any kind of animal. And you can see from this kind of dissolute, isolated particle, the universe is slowly evolving towards life, and then towards something even greater. So then you get life, and all kinds of animals come along, and plants and things like that. And eventually these cells start to, cluster together, and then you get human life. And humans are one of the unique sort of animals, if you will, of the world that are able to be consciously aware. So we don't just have to live by instinct. We can be aware, we can analyze, we can know that there is potentially something greater. We can actually question our own existence. So every time you get that feeling of fear, that feeling of where you just want to shrink back down, and kind of curl up, and I don't want this, I'm far safer where I am at the minute. Just know that that is not the direction that the entire universe is pushing you towards. Everything in the universe is pushing you towards expansion and being more loving. So it's just an amazing thing to think that the whole universe is geared up that way. And that the next interesting sort of step in our evolution really is what happens when humans come together, and then we're going to create something greater than the sum of our parts together. You see it already with things like birds and fish and things like that, where you get flocks of animals that travel together. Now scientists have studied that, where pigeons will bank left or right or and things like that, and they've studied the individual birds, and there is nowhere within their brain that is something is telling them to fork left or fork right. It's almost like this consciousness, this mind, collective mind, forms into existence when these groups of individuals come together. You can feel it when you get to kind of like festivals and sporting events and things like that. There's just this energy of something greater, and that is this sort of unity of human beings in a way. So who knows what's next, but as I've talked about before, it only takes a small number to get that unity kind of event, probably around 1% of the population, to just become these sort of loving beings. So yeah, that's it for me for the moment. Always head towards the light, so to speak. You've got amazing light and potential within yourself. So even in those darkest moments, if you get a problem that crops up in your life, just take a pause for a minute if you can. Try and sort of center yourself, and it's very easy to go back into that sort of darkness, fear-based sort of thinking, but just realize that you are the expression of the universe trying to understand itself. How amazing and cool is that? We are the universe trying to figure out what it is. And the amazing thing that all the science and things like that and all the mystic stuff is telling us is that the universe is evolving. And not only is it evolving, as it's evolving, it's changing its whole structure of being. So yeah, amazing times that we live in. And yeah, just remember, always follow the path of love if you can. So I really do hope you have a fantastic and beautiful life. If I never see you or speak to you again, yeah, I know you're going to be absolutely glorious. If you follow a path of love, you'll have a truly amazing life. And if you've got any questions or comments, do feel free to drop me a private message on Facebook or anything like that, or any kind of, personal problems that you might have, any challenges with. I'm more than happy to, try and help as best I can. We're all learning at these sort of things. So I'll leave it there for this 14 days. Who knows if you'll see me again for a few more videos, hopefully so. But for now, have a fantastic life, and see you soon, hopefully. Bye-bye.